Hey, folks, and welcome into episode 20 of the Longhorn Mailbag. Thanks for joining us here on the Horns 24/7 YouTube channel. No true false this week. We went 3-3 in the Big 12 championship game predictions. We'll bring back true false when the Sugar Bowl comes around, but for now, it opens up more questions from you all. So be sure to head to horns247.com and keep an eye out for the questions drop thread that I post on there and on my Twitter at Tommy_Yarrish. So you have a chance to have your questions answered here on the show. Once again, thanks for being here with us. Let's jump right into this. Our first question from Liberty Horn. Estimate Texas's recruiting class size and rank from high school in 2024. So this 2024 class right now in the high school ranks, we're not going to talk about the transfer portal. We'll get to that a little bit later here in the show. But the 2024 class in the third one for Steve Sarkisian, 20 commits and a number 10 overall class as it stands right now amongst the other teams in the country. When it's all said and done, and this is without any intel, just reading the same content that I get from our fantastic recruiting insiders, Jordan Scruggs and Hank South, I think Texas ends with 22 commits, and I think Steve Sarkisian locks up a third straight top 5 class for Texas. I'll let you debate who the other two class members will be amongst yourselves, but I think Hank and Jordan have given you an idea of who those two guys can be. I think this is a class where Texas is going to finish strong. The Longhorns have made a name for themselves on the recruiting trail when it comes to finishing strong. Once December comes around, that's when Steve Sarkisian kind of fires up the spatula to flip some guys last minute. I think they're in the playing field for a couple of guys. I think they get 2 more and land inside the top 5 once again for 3 straight classes under Sark to start things off. Certainly making the college football playoff here in year 3 doesn't hurt them at all in recruiting. All right, next up from YDoc81. What kind of offensive and defensive game plan do you see Texas implementing against Washington? So, first of all, I think it's going to be very different from what we saw in the Alamo Bowl a season ago, just because while there is a lot of returning players on both sides there, it's still 2 very different teams. Texas used a lot of Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson last year, and they don't have those guys in the backfield anymore, so that kind of changes the dynamic of the offense. Xavier Worthy was, playing with a broken hand and was essentially Quinn Ewers' lone target in that game, throwing the ball around. I think Casey Kane had a good game as well in that game, but he's now in the transfer portal too. So I think really you just need to see a lot of what Texas showed against Texas Tech and Oklahoma State, letting Quinn Ewers sling the ball around and getting the ball into the hands of their playmakers, whether it be Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, or even we've seen a lot of Keelan Robinson through the last couple of weeks. Jaden Blue has come along nicely. Steve Sarkisian has been in his bag play calling in the last couple of weeks. That all needs to continue, and they have a good chance to really make it continue and run up the score once again. Washington's defense is 120th amongst FBS teams in passing yards allowed per game. This is a chance for the Longhorns to continue to flex their muscles offensively, especially through the air. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, Texas is a very good offensive team through the air. Washington is the number 1 passing offense in America, and it's all due to Heisman finalist Michael Penix Jr. at quarterback. He's had a fantastic year. He played very well against the Longhorns a season ago. So this is going to be this needs to be Texas's best game from their secondary, and especially at safety. They lost Jalen Catalon to the portal, so that's 1 guy out of the room. Derek Williams won't be able to play in the first half due to the targeting penalty he got in the second half of the Big 12 championship game. So a lot now lies on the shoulders of Jaron Thompson, Keaton Crawford, and Michael Taft there at that safety position. Michael Penix Jr. likes to throw it deep, and Washington has a wide receiver core that is very capable of making plays on the Texas secondary with Rome Odunze, Jalen McMillan, and Jalen Polk. So, I talk about those safeties really at corner too. Malik Muhammad, Terrence Brooks need to have good games. Jahdae Barron really struggled in the Big 12 championship game. He's going to need a bounce back week. Hopefully they get Ryan Watts back at corner as well to maybe try and get a little bit more of a size advantage on a guy like Odunze. So all in all, really, this Texas secondary is going to have to play their best game of the season. They're going to have to be aggressive, but also not let Michael Penix Jr. beat them deep, which Washington is very capable of doing. They love those explosive plays. And our last question of the show today from Duke 24/7, which portal guys do you like Texas's chances with? And so once again, this is without any sort of intel, just reading the same things you can read at horns247.com if you get a VIP subscription, and pay attention to what Jordan Scruggs and Hank South write for us. I'm going with 2 for right now, and Chip and I are going to do a video on this a little bit later. UTSA's Trey Moore at edge is the first guy that I think Texas has a very good chance with. Jordan and Hank recently put in crystal balls for him. And in the roundtable, I talked a little bit about how Texas is going to want that depth at edge. They have Barron Sorrell. They have Ethan Burke for next season. We'll see if Sorrell wants to come back. We'll check in on that a little bit later after the season. But it seems like he could come back. You've got Ethan Burke there. You've got Colin Simmons coming in. So a fourth or a third body in that case would certainly not help. We know they're looking for interior defensive linemen as well to replace Devondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. So really rounding out that defensive line and establishing a good pass rush, Trey Moore can get you that. He had a fantastic career at UTSA thus far, and I like Texas's chances with him so far in the portal. And second, a relatively new addition to the portal, that's Houston wide receiver Matthew Golden. He had a really big game against Texas when the Longhorns struggled out there in H-Town. He would be a perfect addition to this wide receiver room, in my opinion. And Texas does have a little bit of an advantage in the sense that he was high school teammates and good friends with Longhorns running back Jaden Blue over at Klein Cain. So, defensive line and wide receiver, 2 positions that Texas is looking to fill in the transfer portal. They have had a lot of success in the transfer portal at the wide receiver position. So a good selling point for a guy like Golden would be, hey, look at what Adonai Mitchell has done so far this year. He's not going to be here next year. Xavier Worthy's not going to be here next year. So the room is yours. And that would be my makeshift pitch to Matthew Golden, but I can expect the Texas staff to fire off a similar thing. So Trey Moore from UTSA and Matthew Golden from U of H are my 2 guys to watch for with Texas. And I like their chances. I like Texas's chances in the transfer portal. And so that's going to do it here for episode 20 of the Longhorn Mailbag. I want to thank you so much for watching us here on the Horns 24/7 YouTube channel. As always, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications so you're the first to know when new content heads your way. For the rest of the crew, I'm Tommy Yarrish. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.